What's going on, everyone? Today we are going to be talking about top 12 quarterbacks over on Underdog Fantasy. But before we hop in, if you guys could, go smash that like button. I'm answering every comment. If you guys have any questions related to fantasy, please let me know down below and subscribe to the channel. It is the #1 way to support me. It's completely free. It would mean the absolute world to me, guys. With that out of the way, though, let's hop right into it with our first quarterback tier, and that is Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Now, you could put these guys in any order you want. I really don't care. All three of these guys are the epitome of great quarterbacks, both in rushing and passing. You really can't go wrong taking any of these three guys. I'm going to have Josh Allen here at #1. And the reason why I have Josh Allen here at #1 is simple. I mean, this guy's in one of the most elite offenses I've seen, with a great offensive line. Pro Football Network ranking them as the best offensive line in all of football. This is somebody with A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith at wide receiver. And this is somebody who had the most points per game in fantasy scoring last season, ahead of Patrick Mahomes, ahead of Josh Allen. If he had not gotten injured the last 3 weeks, I think we would be talking about Jalen Hurts as a quarterback 1 by far, because he would have won a lot more people fantasy championships. Either way, I digress. Jalen Hurts, a phenomenal quarterback. You cannot go wrong taking him. And that's why I do have him here. He's in the perfect system for him. Next up, we do have Patrick Mahomes. And again, you could easily have Josh Allen here if you want. I mean, Josh Allen finishing as quarterback 1, 2 of the past 3 years. But I am going to give the nod to Patrick Mahomes because I think he is a more fun quarterback to watch. I mean, this is somebody who can really do it all with his arm. His arm talent is absolutely incredible. And you could say the only knock on Patrick Mahomes is the fact that the wide receivers here aren't great. But honestly, I don't care. Patrick Mahomes did so well with pretty much nothing at the position last year. What's to say this is any different? So I'll give Patrick Mahomes the nod as the QB2 here. Moving on to my QB3, it is Josh Allen. And Josh Allen, like I said before, finished as the top quarterback 2 of the last 3 years and could have easily finished as the top quarterback last year had the Damar Hamlin incident not canceled the Bills-Bengals game early. So I think Josh Allen you could easily make the case for Josh Allen to be the quarterback 1, with all of them averaging over 24 fantasy points a game on any given season. So that's my top 3. I think if you're getting any of these 3 guys, you can go out and draft 2 quarterbacks on Underdog, no problem, and not have to worry because you have that top elite option. Either way, let's move on to my next player, and that is Lamar Jackson. And I know Lamar Jackson, it's been a little bit iffy. He's had a little bit of a tumultuous offseason, but now finally comes in. First of all, he gets a ton of weapons this offseason. You got OBJ, you got Rashad Bateman back from injury, you got Zay Flowers, a first-round wide receiver, and then of course you have Mark Andrews as well. I think Lamar Jackson is stepping into arguably the best situation of his entire career, and we should see an uptick in passing from Lamar as well, as we do see a new OC coming in Todd Monken. So Monken will be airing out the ball more. That's more his scheme. So I do think Lamar will be passing more. But we know that Lamar has a floor of at least 750 rushing yards, which he's hit each of the last 4 seasons, and he missed time each of the last 4 seasons, so he can hit that almost no problem. I think Lamar Jackson, a phenomenal player, and somebody who I am absolutely fine with taking as the quarterback 4 here. Either way, let's move on to my quarterback 5, and this is in the same tier as Lamar. It is Justin Fields. Justin Fields, pretty much the exact same quarterback in my mind as Lamar Jackson, just a little bit less proven. Somebody who probably won't sling as many touchdowns, but could actually rush for more yards this upcoming season. I mean, in 15 games this last season, Justin Fields rushed for over 1,100 yards, 1,143 to be exact. If he had played a full 17 games, he would have been on pace for 1,300 yards, which is borderline league-breaking at the position. I mean, now we have more quarterbacks doing that, but Justin Fields. And now he's stepping into the best situation of his career. I mean, you have DJ Moore, an alpha wide receiver 1 type of player. You have Darnell Mooney coming back from injury. I don't think he'll be much, but he'll be something. And then you also have Chase Claypool, who, yes, he was a laughingstock, does not deserve to be traded for a second-round pick that ended up being Joey Porter Jr., but at the same time, still a good player and still somebody who does deserve volume. You also have Cole Kmet at tight end. I think this is the best situation Justin Fields has ever seen in the NFL. They also do draft Darnell Wright in the first round of the NFL draft this year, so I'm loving what Justin Fields brings to the table. He could easily break fantasy football this season with 40-point games, although the floor could be a little low with Justin Fields. Either way, let's move on to my next player, and that is Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow marks the start of this next tier of players, these great pocket passing options who can run the football, but generally don't all that much. I mean, none of these guys are really going to rake in over 400 yards, except for the last guy I'm going to talk about. Either way, Joe Burrow, a phenomenal player in his own right. One of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion. Somebody who's in a great offense. I mean, you got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins. It's really pretty easy for him to throw the football. They also have an improving offensive line. I really like Joe Burrow. He is kind of screaming for some touchdown regression, having 35 touchdowns in each of the last 2 seasons. We could see that go down, kind of like a Justin Herbert type season last year. Either way, though, Joe Burrow, a very safe option, and somebody who on random weeks can throw for 5 touchdowns and just win you your week with 35 point showings. Not only that, Joe Burrow was 4th in points per game last season, averaging 22 fantasy points per game. So again, I'm fine taking Joe Burrow as my quarterback 6. Either way, moving on to my quarterback 7, we do have Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's a guy who's screaming for some positive regression. I mean, this is somebody who had over 4,700 yards last season and only 25 touchdowns. That should go up. We have Mike Williams hopefully back for this full season. He was out last season. We have Keenan Allen hopefully back for the full season. He also missed time. And then we have another wide receiver in Quentin Johnston who could fill the shoes if either one of them is to miss a significant period of time. We do also have a new OC coming in here in Kellen Moore. So I think this will be a pretty good signing for the Chargers and for Justin Herbert. And we could see Justin Herbert easily throw for 30 touchdowns again this season, as he did his rookie season and as he did 2 years ago. So I'm fine taking Justin Herbert as my quarterback 7. I realistically want to go after whichever one of these guys is cheaper, because at the end of the day, I think both Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert are in a very similar tier of quarterback, and at least what they can do in fantasy, and honestly in real life as well, they both are very similar. So I'm fine taking Justin Herbert. I'm fine taking Joe Burrow. I do have him in the same tier. Now moving on to the last guy in this tier, and this is a little bit of a prediction to step into a heavy role, but it is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, a phenomenal player, somebody who everyone was clamoring to get the number 1 overall pick to go out and get. The Jaguars ended up landing him. You see Urban Meyer come in and be arguably the worst head coach we've ever seen. I mean, Urban Meyer was just downright terrible as an NFL head coach. And thus, Trevor Lawrence did not play all that well. Then he gets an established veteran head coach in Doug Peterson, and Peterson is a phenomenal head coach and led Trevor Lawrence to have 25 touchdowns last season. I think things are really looking up for Trevor Lawrence, and this is somebody who, again, can run the football, having 300 yards each of the last 2 seasons. So I think Trevor Lawrence could be a phenomenal quarterback by this year. Right where I have him ranked and where he's ranked over on Underdog Fantasy, he's not necessarily a buy low because I have him exactly in line with his quarterback ADP, but I still think a great player and somebody who can get the job done both in the passing and rushing department. That's why Trevor Lawrence right now is my quarterback 8 behind these 2 studs. Either way, let's move on to my next quarterback, and that is Deshaun Watson. And I have Deshaun Watson in a tier of his own here. And I think Deshaun Watson could be a great quarterback this year. But the thing is, we don't know. I would have him a ton higher if he had played the last 2 seasons fully. The concerns are definitely there. But the ceiling case for Deshaun Watson is for him to finish as a top 5 quarterback, as he's done every single time he's played a full season in his NFL career. He's literally finished as a quarterback 5 every single time he's played a full season. He led the league in passing in a Bill O'Brien-led offense that was not projected to do anything. That's why the Houston Texans only won 4 games. But Deshaun Watson, somebody who can run the football for over 500 yards, somebody who can lead the league in passing, and I think that ceiling is hard to pass up on at the quarterback 9, even if it is a pretty substantial risk that he might not be the same quarterback that he was in years past. I'm still taking a ton of Deshaun Watson on the premise that if he does hit his ceiling case, he's going to be a phenomenal fantasy buy low option, and that's why I'm taking him here. Either way, let's move on to my next quarterback, and this is a tier down. It is Tua Tagovailoa, and Tua, I think, is a great quarterback in his own right. Somebody who, yes, he was a little inconsistent last season, and yes, he did deal with some injuries, but when he was on, oh my god, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL. And to prove that, he literally led the league in adjusted yards per pass attempt. He's in a phenomenal offense. You have Jalen Waddle, you have Tyreek Hill, and I have A-Chain to add just even more speed to a ridiculously fast offense. The only knock on Tua is that he doesn't run the football at all. I mean, he's never had over 150 rushing yards in his career in the NFL, and I don't project that to be any different this year. This is somebody who's going to be heavily reliant on pocket passing, and you have to know that going in with Tua, but with the ceiling he has in this offense, I'm fine taking him here as my quarterback 10 at low-end quarterback 1, and I think Tua is somebody that could be phenomenal and easily outperform his ADP if he's able to play the full season this year. But that is the main concern, whether or not he's able to play a full season. He does have the concussions, so there are some question marks with Tua, and that's why I would understand if you wanted to have him lower. But I have him here because his ceiling is simply so high. Either way, let's hop into our next quarterback, and that is Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins is somebody who is consistently underrated every single season. I mean, every year. This guy's getting drafted around the quarterback 15. Right now, he's the quarterback 13 over on Underdog Fantasy, and he always outperforms that. This is somebody who has finished as a quarterback 11, and quarterback 6 over the last 3 seasons. This is somebody who consistently slings over 30 touchdowns. He's in a great offense with the best wide receiver in all of football in Justin Jefferson. You also have Jordan Addison, who's a great wide receiver in his own right and should be pretty good at the NFL level. And TJ Hawkinson. We don't know if Dalvin Cook is going to be back, so Kirk Cousins might even be passing the ball more often than he already was. And this is somebody who passed the ball very often last year. He had 643 attempts, which ranked him 4th in the entire NFL. So I really like buying into Kirk Cousins here, although he is similar to Tua where he doesn't have the rushing upside, and there are some weeks where he busts. Kirk Cousins is a good, safe quarterback, somebody you can rely on to be a very, very high-end quarterback too if you're in a 2-quarterback league, or a low-end quarterback one that you're just relying on, and then you draft somebody like Trey Lance much later, and hope Trey Lance hits the ceiling, but if not, oh no, you still have Kirk Cousins. Either way, let's move on to my next player, and that is Dak Prescott, and Dak Prescott is a great quarterback, somebody who's proven year in and year out that he can be relied on for fantasy. This is somebody who every single season he's played a full season, he's been a top 10 quarterback except for one, and that was all the way back in 2018. Now, yes, he has dealt with some injuries that may lead to some concern for Dak Prescott, and his offense maybe is a little bit worse than in years past when he had Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup at his best, but you still do have CeeDee Lamb here, an elite wide receiver one, and Brandon Cooks coming in who could still be great. I mean, there are some question marks with his age, and he didn't really play all that well last season, but Brandon Cooks still could be a great wide receiver. I hate having Dak below these two other guys. If you wanted to make a case for Dak above Kirk Cousins and Tua, I'm absolutely fine with that. Either way, let's move on to my last quarterback, and I'm going to put him in this tier as well. It is Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones has rushing upside for days. I mean, this is somebody who finished with over 700 rushing yards last season, which is a feat that only 4 other quarterbacks were able to do. Josh Allen, who's being drafted insanely high, Jalen Hurts, who's being drafted extremely high, Lamar Jackson, who's being drafted extremely high, and Justin Fields, who's being drafted extremely high. This is year 2 in the system with Brian Daboll, so he will only be getting more comfortable as time goes on. I think the schedule is a little bit of a concern for the Giants because they do have one of the hardest schedules in the NFL. But even still, I think Daniel Jones has elite rushing upside as he finishes the quarterback 9 last season. Somebody who I could consider moving higher than this, but I would rather take the safer guys with just as high ceilings here. Daniel Jones, though, I do really like, and somebody I think I should have even higher. This is somebody who can rush for 700 yards yet again this season, and bolster what he did in the touchdown department, as he had only 15 touchdowns. So that should look to go up this season. I think Daniel Jones, a pretty good buy low quarterback where he's going right now over on Underdog, and somebody I'm getting in a decent amount of leagues. Either way, I did want to talk about one more quarterback. I know I went a little bit over on 12 quarterbacks, but I also wanted to give you guys a little bonus here. I wanted to talk about Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is one of the most interesting quarterbacks going into the season, right? For one, this is somebody with athletic traits for days. He literally tested as the best quarterback ever according to RAS. I think Anthony Richardson is a great long-term buy in 1 quarterback and 2 quarterback leagues, considering he has league-winning upside at the position. But at the same time, in year 1, I don't think he's going to be all that great of a quarterback. I mean, I think this is somebody who needs a ton of refinement before he is great at the NFL level. Yes, he can run the football for days. He's a phenomenal quarterback at running the football. But if you have a 53% completion percentage coming out of college where you only started 13 games, you are going to need some time to develop. And I think that's exactly what Anthony Richardson needs as a quarterback. Could he start day 1? Yes. But would I want to pick him in a 1 quarterback league in between Deshaun Watson, who in my opinion ceiling is simply higher, at least for this next season, and Dak Prescott, who I think is just a much better quarterback and somebody who's proven at the NFL level year in and year out that he can be great? No, I would rather have the more proven commodities. Let's take a look at Justin Fields, for instance, and see what he was able to do his rookie year. In his rookie year, he averaged 10 fantasy points per game. Yes, you had some spike weeks, but that is not great. And not only that, Justin Fields was a more finished product coming out of college than Anthony Richardson is. Well, I think Anthony Richardson, again, could be great in the long term. This year in fantasy football, I am not drafting him as the quarterback 10. I am not drafting him his rookie season. When 1, we don't even know if he's going to start the full season, although signs are pointing to yes. And 2, rookie quarterbacks historically are not that great. We are projecting him right now to finish with the Justin Herbert type of fantasy season in his first year. And Justin Herbert, a better prospect coming out. I'm not going to lie. I love Anthony Richardson. But Justin Herbert was a better prospect coming out. So that's why I'm not taking Anthony Richardson at the quarterback 10. I like the prospect. I like the idea. I just can't personally do it. Let me know what you think about that down below, though, because I know a lot of people love Anthony Richardson. Obviously, if he's going as the quarterback 10, a lot of people have very good cases to draft Anthony Richardson high. I just personally cannot pull trigger on a guy who has never played an NFL start and only had a 53% completion percentage in college, and is being drafted for his traits to be projected out into the future, not this year, in the future. That's why I cannot draft Anthony Richardson as my quarterback 10. Either way, that's going to be it from me. Hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, go smash that like button. I'm answering every comment. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. And subscribe to the channel. It is the #1 way to support me. It's completely free. With that, though, guys, as always, have a good day, a good night, and a good life.